Welcome to Liminal Lent. Today's text is 1 Samuel chapter 3, verses 1 through 18. This is the call of Samuel when he's sleeping in his dreams and he hears God calling Samuel, Samuel, and he thinks it's Eli. But Eli figures out that it's God calling him, so tells him to say instead, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." And so Samuel did that, and God says, "See, I'm about to do something in Israel that will make both ears of anyone who hears of it tingle. On that day I will fulfill." And then he goes on with what he's saying. So fulfilling some kind of naming of what had been done that wasn't quite right with Eli's sons and the consequences of that, but then also God opening up a new future and calling kings. So when we're called, we do leave a lot behind, don't we? There is new beginnings, but in order to have new beginnings, we need that the changing of relationships. What is just the baggage that we can't bring forward? What is emerging for us? And there's this leap of faith as we feel called into a ministry, a relationship, a job, a vocation in which God will use our talents and abilities, our presence for the sake of our neighbor. I have from our book, The How to Lead When You Do Not Know Where You're Going by Susan Beaumont, page 116. I wanted to just, she mentions the Indiana Jones in the Last Crusade movie, when he's kind of he's at this abyss and he knows there's a bridge, but he can't see a bridge. And so he has to leap out onto the bridge, trusting that it's there. That's kind of sometimes like a call where it feels right. You see that there's maybe an official job offer, in my case as a pastor, a call letter, there's been a vote, we are going forward, and then you leap, you go forward, trusting that God will be there to catch everybody in the midst, no matter what. And it's a frightening and a bold step, as she says, and the bridge for him, Indiana Jones, magically materializes. It was there all along, but Jones didn't see it from his vantage point. So this I thought was kind of I'm going to read just a little bit more. Nurturing the new congregational identity requires a similar leap of faith. We step out with confidence, trusting the new identity awaits once we are ready to engage it. A congregation can't plan a new identity from the safety of a boardroom. Leaders can't cling to an old identity while systematically planning new pathways. We must trust that something important will be given to us that is worth the risk of letting go. Otto Scharmer, author and professor of management at MIT, refers to this process of letting go and letting come. Something happens that shifts our habitual way of seeing things. We let go of what no longer serves us. We listen to what is emerging from within ourselves, deep intentions and new aspirations. We engage a new way of being in relationship to the world. Scharmer compares this process to threading the eye of a needle. He reminds us of what Jesus said: "It is easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of God," Matthew 19:24. In ancient Jerusalem, there was a gate called the Needle, which was so narrow that when a fully loaded camel approached it, the camel driver had to stop and take off all the bundles so that the camel could pass through. Likewise, to discover an emerging identity, a congregation or a person must shed what is not essential. After crossing the threshold, we are pulled together and upward into a space of new possibility. So we are still in that threshold moment. The emerging identity has not come for us as a congregation, but also for us as individuals. In like this emerging, what will emerge as a society, as a church, as individuals, in our families, out of the reality of this pandemic that we've all been part of? What parts are we going to leave, not pick up again, that were so vital before, or maybe not vital, but just we kind of been dragging them for a long time? What served us in the in-between time, but maybe won't serve us at the other end of what's emerging. And we can give thanks for what they were at the time and then not load them back on the camel once we're through the eye of the needle. What are those moments of leaping of faith, of being called into the future, into what God is creating in our midst? How is God calling you? And how are we, how does he say it? Letting go and letting come. I think that's a sacred, holy act of letting go, of entrusting the past and the future into God's hands, where God will care for us now and always. So, what's on your fully loaded camel? And what will you not reload on your camel once you're through the eye of the needle?